Here we eat fish, under the sea the fish eat us. I know, I know. His name is Patchface. To everyone in the story, he's a broken simpleton, a creepy little jester who follows a princess around singing gibberish no one understands. But here's what the reader catches. The gibberish keeps coming true. He sang about the Red Wedding before it happened. Melisandre, a priestess of the Lord of Light who stares into fire, is terrified of him and has visions of him with skulls and his lips red with blood. So who is Patchface? Let's uncover one of the most mysterious characters in A Song of Ice and Fire. 100 men drowned in Shipbreaker Bay. The Lord of Storm's End, his wife, an entire ship full of sailors dragged under. 3 days later, the sea gave one body back. A boy, white, wrinkled, his skin clammy and cold to the touch. They thought he was a corpse. He'd been on the water for 3 days. They were getting ready to bury him. And then he coughed up a lungful of seawater and opened his eyes. But the thing that came up from the bottom of the bay was not the same boy who went down. In the slave city of Volantis, Lord Stefan Baratheon found a boy, a jester, a prodigy. And we actually have Stefan's own words. He wrote home to his maester and described the boy as nimble as a monkey, witty as a dozen courtiers. He could juggle, he could tell riddles, he could sing beautifully in 4 languages. But more importantly, Stefan wrote the boy does magic. Stefan bought the boy's freedom and put him on his ship, the Windproud, to bring him home so he might teach his grim, joyless son Stannis how to laugh. The ship never made it, and the only thing the sea returned was the fool. When they laid him out, he matched nothing in Lord Stefan's letter. The clever golden boy who could sing in 4 tongues was gone. They only recognized him by the tattoos on his face. His wit was gone, his memory was gone. He'd lost the ability to speak in straight sentences. From that day on, he only spoke in song. But his songs predict the events of A Song of Ice and Fire. Let's start with how he predicted the Red Wedding. This is what he sings. Fool's blood, king's blood, blood on the maiden's thigh, but chains for the guest and chains for the bridegroom. Let's line that up with what happened at the Red Wedding. The fool, Aegon Frey, nicknamed Jingle Bell, the jester, murdered. The king, Robb Stark of course, he was murdered. Blood on the maiden's thigh. The wedding is sprung the moment the bride, Rosling Frey, is bedded. Chains for the guests and the bridegroom. The survivors, including the groom Edmure Tully, are taken prisoner. Here's what else he predicts. The shadows come to dance, my lord, dance, my lord, dance, my lord. The shadows come to stay, my lord, stay, my lord, stay, my lord. Is something that he sings in the presence of Melisandre. And as we know, within the story, Melisandre gives birth to literal living shadows, assassins made of darkness, and uses them to murder a king. In this world, the word dance is how they talk about war and slaughter. For example, the Dance of the Dragon. The point I'm trying to establish is this is not a man having random episodes. This is the most accurate prophet in the entire series, and he's been hiding in plain sight, dressed as a joke the whole time. Which forces the real question. How is a brain-damaged jester seeing the future at all? If you're enjoying the video so far, please feel free to like and subscribe to support a small channel and see similar content in the future. So there's a few theories about Patchface floating around, and let's walk through them. So the first one is, Patchface actually died down there, and something brought him back. Look at the evidence stacked up. He comes from Volantis. Of every city in the known world, Volantis is the great stronghold of the Lord of Light, the fire god R'hllor. We're told flat out the red god has more worshippers than any other god combined. His old master wrote that he could do magic, and in this world there are only a handful of real sources of magic, and the red god's fire is one of them. Then there's the resurrection itself. We have seen people come back from death in these books. We've seen Beric Dondarrion brought back again and again by a red priest, and every time someone comes back, they lose something, pieces of themselves or memories. A man drowns for 3 days, washes up cold as a corpse, and wakes with no memory and a broken mind. That's not brain damage from near drowning, that's the price of coming back. So the theory goes, Patchface is a vessel. When he opens his mouth and sings, it isn't the fool talking, it's the god, speaking through the only mouth it has, in riddles about things that were, things that are, and things that are coming. Although one of the flaws of this theory is that if Patchface is a tool of the Red God, why is the Red God's own priestess terrified of him? Because she is. Late in the books, Melisandre tells Jon Snow that the fool is dangerous. She says she's seen him in her flames. So it doesn't really sound like a servant of her god, it sounds like a threat to it. This brings us to theory 2. Whatever touched Patchface didn't come from the fire at all, it came from the deep. Notice what almost every single one of his songs is about: the sea, under the sea, beneath the waves, drowned things. There's an old god in this world, the Ironborn worship, the drowned god, and his followers literally drown each other and bring them back. Their holy men go down in storms and wash up made holy, claiming they can finally see clearly. One of them even says it outright. The man he used to be drowned, and the fish ate the scales from his eyes, and when he rose again, he saw the truth. Does that sound like anyone we know? If Patchface belongs to the drowned god, a cold, dark power, then Melisandre's fear makes perfect sense, because to a priestess of fire and light, the enemy is cold and dark. She might be looking at a fool and seeing an agent of everything her god is at war with. And here's the third theory. The drowning didn't make him a prophet, it broke the door open. In this world, we've watched a boy fall, nearly die, and wake up with power to see across time. We've watched another boy almost die of fever and start dreaming true. Trauma, the brush with death, keeps unlocking sight in people who maybe always had a flicker of it. Remember, Stefan called him magic before he ever got to the ship, so maybe the gift was always there, and the drowning just let it out, along with everything else. So, which theory do you think is most likely? And I think one of the most interesting points about Patchface is that there are stuff he said that hasn't come true, so we can use his songs to predict what's going to happen in the Winds of Winter, which maybe I'll look at in a different video. But thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it.